Whew. Well, it started. my season started this morning. Not season's been open a couple months, but my time to go deer hunting started this morning. I didn't really hardly sleep last night at all, and I'm absolutely excited to do what to knock off a big important hunting goal of mine I've had basically for a long time. Lots of healthy fun. But the day is old for hunting time, so I'm gonna get some emails rattled out while I'm sitting here and keep this ride going, keep this help going. And while I'm doing this, I'm gonna share something with you guys. Like I said before, might have mentioned earlier, nobody's reading all of these emails. There's so many emails. There's so many of you out there who've had these experiences. It really brings it to amazement of how important it is and how well this subject has been kept secret, kept looked at as a joke, and kept suppressed. It's amazing to me. But then again, if you watch what's going on in the current elections, the current governments of many Western world's countries, I guess it shouldn't be that surprising, right? The majority of us have been dumbed down so much. It's so blatant to see. It's so overwhelming. It's sad and unfortunate. But before I start rambling too much, I'm pretty tired right now. That's usually when I start rambling too. But I want you guys to picture this one. The words from this man probably echo in my head, I'd say at least every single day, when my mind goes off to this topic. Again, I'm not a researcher. I'm not in this Sasquatch community, no matter what any of you think. I'm not. I'm just one of you. One of you people that had an experience, numerous experiences, didn't ask for it. Don't see it as anything to celebrate. And I'm absolutely fed up and sick and tired of the fact that we're all being lied to. Said it a million times, I'm saying it again. But I want you to picture this. All right, picture if you're one of those kick-ass parents who knew that it was important to let your kids go out and play by themselves. You know it's important to create independent people by raising your children independent. Let them scuff their knees. Let them scuff the skin off their chin. Let them fail. Let them lose. Let them learn. Let them become independent, stronger, right? Imagine if you're one of those parents, not overbearing, not overprotective, not crowding your children, not creating them, not allowing them to create resentment towards you because you're so frickin' overbearing and insecure and scared for them. Imagine if you're one of those wicked parents, kick-ass parents who got it. And imagine if you lived rural. Maybe you got a ranch, maybe you got a farm, maybe you live in the back of the timber like many of my friends down do right here behind me. And picture what it would do to you if all of a sudden one day you ran into an 8 to 10 foot tall, hairy, living, breathing, real, true, monster looking being standing there looking at you. Or worst case scenario, chasing you, or throwing boulders at you, or scream roaring at you, or pushing a freaking great big tree down in front of you and tossing that at you. Whether or not you accept these facts as true or not, I don't give a shit. And just play this game for 1 second. Imagine being that man. All right? Now imagine being that man who, this guy, I don't even remember how long or who this email is from. I just remember this guy emailing me and telling me that his family life's basically falling apart. He's caught between a rock and a hard spot because he saw one of these things on his property, and now he has a loaded 12-gauge shotgun basically behind every door in the house, and he can't take his eyes off of his children when they go in the backyard. He's annoying the shit out of the kids. He's annoying the shit out of the wife. He's got nowhere to go, no one to talk to, no one for support. And previous to this, he was just a kick-ass dad having with the dream home, rural dream home. The kids are outside playing with the dogs in the woods with their pelicans and slingshots, doing whatever they want. It's a great, great life. And now this poor guy's been broken down into the most insecure, scared parent you could ever have, who will not let those kids out of his sight when they're outside of that house. What a shit-eating sentence that is. That is such a shit-eater. And it's words and situations like that that just make me boil. It just lights a fire. It should with every single one of you too. And I know, I mean, there's thousands. I'm so overwhelmed by how many emails have come in to me from around the planet. It is stupid. You know, I used to be able to count them. It was over 10,000 months ago. Who knows how many now? What do you do? What do you do? You know, the government, the government's an absolute joke. It doesn't matter what government it is, what politician it is in the world. That's an absolute joke. Kick it to the side. So now who do you have left now? Well, all you have left is each other, right? Or a place, I guess, like this one where everybody is watching me read these emails. I guess this is a safe place, but it still doesn't help the fact that, you know, I wonder what the ratio is per email sent to me compared to how many people are terrified to bring it up. I wonder what that fraction is. If it's heavily leans toward the side of Zippermouth Creek, or if more and more people are opening up. I'd like to think more and more people are opening up. I mean, the numbers coming to my email in this channel are pretty overwhelming, so that's probably a sign. But just so you know, a lot of people think I run around, he's so angry, or he's a tough guy. Is that how pathetic society is today? When all you have to do is say, I don't give a shit what you think. And that, just saying that is threatening enough to make people think, oh, does he think he's some kind of a tough guy? And it hurts feelings. I guess I'm kind of babbling. I'm tired. I'm frustrated with how many people's lives have been turned upside down from these experiences that they didn't ask for. And I'm tired of the negativity that comes from the weak-minded people when it comes to this topic, and they're more willing than not to shit on top of these people and insult them after they've got up the guts to come forward and share their experience. Yeah, that pisses me off. I'm a man. I'm a human being. I'm a normal person, believe it or not. If that doesn't piss you off, there's something wrong with you. Right? How do we take care of each other if some of us don't get pissed off? We all just be passive and let everybody walk all over us and steer us like a bunch of stupid sheep? You have a set of balls and you use them. Right? It's just one way of putting it. But anyway, out of absolute respect for that particular man who's in that position and many, 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 many others, I'm going to keep reading these emails. I'm going to keep sticking up for every single one of you, and I'm going to keep sharing as much knowledge as I can with all of you as it comes in and when I can. When the green light says I can, from those who have much more information than I do and you do on this topic. And that's what's going to go down continually, nonstop. And you're not going to be able to stop it. There's too many of us out here. Even if, let's just say something, I got chewed on by a grizzly bear in 2 days. Somebody's going to pick up where I left off. And it's not going to be one of those cheese bag researchers. And also take note in that one too. I got to address that one. I get a few emails that come in saying, you know, you pissed off so-and-so, you pissed off this researcher, you pissed off that researcher. And you know what? This is how dumb some of them are. Every single time I've said anything that may be demeaning to a researcher or a group, I always have said, not all of them. So guess what? So all of the ones who did find that insulting, they lump themselves in there themselves. They volunteered themselves up to be lumped in with the douchebag crowd just by feeling threatened for my words. Not too swift, are they? But anyway, let me get on to this before I get really angry and start really telling you how I feel. All right, here we go. Listen to this one. Yeah, I got my bow today. I'm actually bow hunting. I vowed to take this monster buck with my bow, not a rifle, so Is what it is. It's a bow and arrow. Chances of getting attacked by a grizzly bear are fairly slim. Maybe I'll be a good shot if it goes down. Anyway, listen to this. Hey Steve, thanks for spreading the truth and speaking in plain language without all the BS. The more truth and less hype we share on the subject, the better we might someday all understand the big picture concerning Sasquatch. I'll try to keep this short, but I know me, and it might get a little long-winded. Whether or not you share my name's up to you, as I just don't care anymore if people think I'm just another conspiracy nut. I'm soon to be 54 years old and live in nearly the geographical center of the U.S. This is farmland. Lots of wide open space, with the majority of wooded areas simply lining rivers, lakes, and streams. The point being, not many places to hide if you're a giant-sized human-shaped being. And yes, I can tell you the difference between a cow and a really big dude. I was living in Arkansas as a young kid when the legend of Boggy Creek came out, and my friends and I all talked about it often, wondering if it was true or just a boogeyman story made up to scare people. Even at 7 or 8 years old, I was inclined to believe that something really did exist out there that fit the description of the beast they described in the legend. It wasn't long after that my family moved to eastern Oklahoma and then to Kansas, where I spent the last 44 years. As an avid hunter, fisherman, and all-around outdoorsman, I spent most of my free time out away from houses and paved roads, as immersed in nature as I can find, shrugging off the day-to-day stresses that would inevitably pile up if I didn't. My first recollection of an encounter happened during the summer of '78. Being fairly new to the area, I had made only a few friends, and one, Brad, was particularly close as we shared many of the same interests. His parents had a small acreage, 20 acres or so, just a few miles up the road, which is bordered up on one side by a mighty creek. Out in their back pasture, they had a pond where his father had parked the truck bed camper for us to camp in without having to pitch a tent or sleep on the ground. We spent many a night that summer, fishing in the pond until the early morning hours, then crashing in the camper until his mother would ring the old school bell on the back porch to let us know that breakfast is ready. And that's the way kids should grow up. All in all, it was the most carefree time of my life, and I couldn't think of anything I would rather do. So one night while fishing, not really paying much attention to our poles, and sitting next to our campfire, talking about whatever kids that age talk about, we heard a deep voice coming from the creek about 50 meters to our left. We both stopped talking immediately and stared in the darkness in the direction of the creek. Silence. We looked at each other with a "what the" look, and then went back to laughing and talking again. A few minutes later, we heard the voice from the creek again. Brad yelled over in that direction, "Who's there?" And there was no reply. We both decided that it was likely his dad playing a prank on us, but he didn't answer. We laughed it off and said out loud we knew who was there and that we weren't fooling us, and that they weren't fooling us. At that point, there was a loud crack of breaking wood. We froze. Brad grabbed his flashlight and shined it toward the creek, scanning the bank for movement. We didn't see anything, but we were shaken enough by it that we doused the fire and set off for the house. Whomever was out there could have our campsite if they wanted it. We didn't tell his parents the next morning why we'd come back to the house in the middle of the night, and they didn't ask. The morning after this, we went back out to clean up the campsite, and we both decided to see if we could figure out where the voice and the loud crack had come from. What we found was on the other side of the creek, a large Osage, O-S-A-G-E, orange tree branch. Google how hard that wood is. Had been broken and twisted on a tree about 4 feet off the ground. We didn't hear the twisting sound, so it must have happened all at once, and neither of us could figure out what would be strong enough to break one of those branches. As for the voice we heard, neither of us admitted to hearing any actual words, but both agreed that it sounded like drunk mumblings or language we didn't understand. We also agreed that we'd better not to tell anyone for fear of them, parents and friends, accusing us of having been drinking or smoking something we shouldn't have been. Fast forward 30 years, and Brad and my friendship didn't last much longer than a couple years longer. As far as I know, he took the story to his grave. Life goes on. I don't recall having any other encounters in the woods again until just the last few years. I had always kept it in the back of my head, along with the thought that there actually could be some unknown species out there with abilities we can't comprehend. A few years back, my wife and I were hiking, no trails, in a wooded area along a creek, miles from any town, and several strange things occurred that I couldn't attribute to any natural animal behavior that I was aware of. Coming to a climax when we were ushered out of the area by several things yelling from a few hundred yards in a couple of different directions. My wife doesn't believe in the hoax, that is Bigfoot, so I didn't say anything to her. But it reminded me of that night so long ago with my friend Brad, and we left. I vowed to not go exploring that area again. The months have followed me thinking about the possibilities of this creature and how it is that if they exist, we know so little about them. I tried to rationalize every story I'd heard or read or watched about them, and the only conclusion I'd come up with is that they have to exist. I simply can't believe that so many people for so many hundreds of years have perpetuated the longest hoax in history. That just doesn't make sense. What makes sense is that myself and countless other people have witnessed these things firsthand, and though some have shared their stories, most, like me, have remained silent, for whatever reason. In those months I came to just accept it, not needing any more proof than I already had, and not needing to convince anyone of anything. Then, just as I was making my peace with the whole mess, bam, I have another encounter. I was riding my motorcycle to work last summer. It was pre-dawn and I was on the interstate highway between my hometown and the next. I had my high beam headlight on and could clearly see something standing in front of one of the large green reflective road signs off to the side of the highway, about 3/4 to 1 mile ahead of me. I thought it was odd that I had never noticed any trees between the road and the fence, some 40 yards away and paralleling the highway. But that's what my mind told me it was. I think I thought it must be a young cedar tree because whatever it was vertical and didn't have a canopy, like a deciduous tree. At any rate, I looked away to my left, then back, and it was gone. Now I was riding about 60 miles per hour at the time, so I'm guessing this all took place in the span of about a minute. Since I'm estimating that I could have been as much as a mile away when I first noticed it. I thought that it was odd, but then figured that it must just be my mind playing tricks on me, as I was certain that there were no cedar trees growing in the right-of-way, and I've been making that same trip every day for about 6 years. Then as I neared the sign in question, about 200 yards from it, out of nowhere, there was suddenly someone standing on the shoulder, and he was huge. It made my heart skip a beat, and I instinctively leaned to the left and changed lanes. In the split second it took to wrap my head around what I'd just seen, a massive 9 to 10 foot tall, hairy, massive dude just standing there with his arms to his side. I twisted the throttle, and before I knew it, I was riding about 100 miles per hour coming into the next little town. I eased out of the gas, and tried to relax. My heart was beating out of my chest. What the F? That thing just appeared out of nowhere. I had my bright lights on the entire time, and it went from being a silhouette in the distance to gone, and then right there on the shoulder less than 10 feet away from me. Needless to say, I couldn't concentrate on work the entire day as I tried to rationalize what it could have been. That evening on the way home, I paid close attention to the right away on the other side of the road, hoping to find that there was actually a lone cedar tree that had grown up in all the tall grasses that I hadn't noticed before. Nope, not a single tree for 30 miles growing between the roadway and the fence. Pretty sure we all know what I saw, but why? Why there? Why then? Why was it not visible the entire time? Why was it just standing there? Since then, it seems that every time I go out in the wooded area, something happens to remind me that they're around. The latest happened when my wife and I were biking at Rails to Trails, where the old rail beds are turned into hiking biking trails, and even though I expect something, it always catches me off guard. I have a rule for myself that each time I go into the wooded area, I think to myself, I'm just passing through, I don't mean any harm. If they truly can communicate telepathically, I hope they get my message, as I don't want trouble. Well anyways, as we were riding the trail and coming up to a section where it goes over a creek, and is darkly shaded, I said those words in my head. It's only about 150 to 200 yards wide stretch of heavily wooded area, and we rode through without incident, even stopping on the bridge to look over at the creek and watch the fish in the clear water. After riding several miles further, we turned around and started back for the Jeep. When we came up on the same bridge and wooded area, I again said to myself, we're just passing through and mean no harm. I added, let me know if you're around, just to say hello. My wife was ahead of me by a few seconds, maybe 50 yards, and as she rode off the other end of the bridge and I just started over it, I heard a loud thump in the trees to my left. I looked over to where the sound was, but it was too thick to see anything. The only way I can describe the sound was that of a dropping 10-pound bag of flour onto the ground from above chest level, or a soft padded foot stomping forcefully. I smiled and said thanks in my mind and rode on. Catching up to my wife, I asked if she heard the thump, and she hadn't. I told her how it sounded like a dropping big bag of flour, and she just laughed, telling me that she doubted anyone was walking through the woods with a big bag of flour. We didn't say another word about it. So this did end up being longer than expected, but to cut to the chase, I think these creatures can and do understand our thoughts somehow. Don't ask me how, but it's happened too many times for me to simply write it off as a coincidence. Or maybe it's just their own intuition that lets them know who they can trust or not. Either way, I think there's way more to this than we will ever know. I asked myself if the attacks or supposed attacks, people who disappear, simply got too close for comfort. What do you do when a bear gets too close? You make noise so they know where you are and go another direction, right? Does the bear speak English? Does the bear know hand signals? Nope. The bear simply understands that he and she is invading your space and knows that you're potentially deadly, so they turn and go in the other direction. What happens if the bear doesn't change direction or charges? What do? I imagine you protect yourself with everything you have. Wouldn't the same hold true for Sasquatch? They give warnings that you're in the area, and the closer you get to the place they are guarding, maybe young in the area, the more forceful the warnings get. Ignore them altogether and keep advancing, what do you expect the reaction to be? I, for one, know that I would defend my kids with all means necessary. I'm hoping that if they indeed can hear my thoughts somehow, I mean no harm, and don't plan on sticking around somehow, lets them know that they don't need to escalate the situation. It's worked for me so far. Again, thanks for what you do, and I hope this wasn't too damn long to read. Phil. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for sending that in. And already, you've been on this channel, you know there's a shit pile of people out there who've had the exact same experience. And obviously you can think for yourself, and you're an intelligent guy, because everything that you have thought of, I've thought of as well. Numerous other people thought of those points, and it all makes sense, right? And I'll admit it. Even on that last big game trip that I did up north, where my new young hunter could clearly hear the blasts on the tree from exactly where I was, and I didn't hear a frickin' thing. I didn't hear nothing. And I got good ears in the woods. I hear everything. And straight up, when I'm starting off in the morning in the dark, I basically say under my breath, not out loud, but I say it every time. I don't want nothing to do with you. Just leave me alone and don't scare the shit out of me. And that's what I say. And who knows? Who knows if they're actually giving me some respect and they're just letting him know that day. I don't know. I haven't a clue. But especially this is the month when I usually have something happen to me one-on-one when I'm by myself and where I am. I'm in the southwest coastal mountains of British Columbia hunting solo. And there is so many incidents that go on around my neck of the woods. It is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe not ridiculous. Maybe I shouldn't use the word ridiculous. It is what it is. This has been going on since our time began, But I don't look forward to it. I'll admit. It's funny for me, for all you hunters out there who may be getting nervous because of this topic, or you're nervous because of what you experienced. Just so you guys know, for me, like last night, I'm getting all my stuff together and I'm stressing out. I'm stressing myself out thinking about where I'm going when I know that these beings are there sometimes. I'm stressing about it last night. I'm stressing about it this morning. But to be honest, the weirdest thing, as soon as I get in the timber, I just get a sense of calm. I don't feel threatened. I can focus on my task. I can focus on the hunting that I'm doing, 98% instead of 60-40, where I used to be looking over my shoulder, looking up 8 feet up that tree trunk right there, see if things peeking out at me, looking around, looking for tracks. Then I go back to hunting, and then I look around again. And I find that now lately I can probably focus 95 to 98% of my focus is on my task at hand, as opposed to keeping one ear cocked at all times. I think probably I'm realizing more and more that if any of these beings wanted my ass, I would have been toast a long time ago. So for me, I just don't need that stress of having something that big outclassing me so easily and sitting observing me from 10 or 15 yards away, blatantly making it very clear it knew I was coming and it could have had my ass at any time. You know, that's a very weird feeling, to feel that vulnerable and that feeble, especially when you have a weapon in your hands and you're so far away from safety, your typical safety, right? A vehicle or a home. But that's what I do. And I admit it right now. I was stressed out last night, and I'm stressed out in the dark getting in my truck, thinking about where I am going to be hiking in the dark this morning. But as soon as I start my hike, I'm good. It's such a weird thing. But for all you out there, don't feel foolish trying it, all right? If you are having a tough time going hunting or fishing or wherever, out in your back 40, to go check on cows or whatever you have, and there's a patch of timber that makes you nervous, just try it. Just try mumbling those words out, or even just in your head, and make it clear. You're not here to try to pull one over on them, get them on video, or prove their existence, or shoot one, or find out where they are. Just let them know that you just want to be left alone and live your life to the best that you can while you're here. And hopefully they'll respect that, right? But anyway, it's a crazy lifetime. It's a crazy lifetime. I'm going to read some more.